Hi there, and welcome to another vlog. Just a quick update first of all, I suppose, on how my exercise and how my food has been going. So I've really made an effort to try to add a little more exercise to my daily routine by walking home, and just underneath my voiceover, I'll just play a little bit of footage of a few of my walks home, really only for friends that have lived in the Philippines and lived in the fort and walked around these areas, so you can get a little bit of a nostalgia kick. So I've done my best. I don't think I've been lazy a single time. I don't think I've chosen to get in a car instead of walk, unless the weather's been horrible. But we're still plagued by storms and all sorts of nasty weather, and so it's not been entirely successful. As far as the rest of exercise is concerned, I have been going to the gym. I have been doing strength training. I have been doing some cardio and some boxing. And that's about the limit of it, I'm afraid. That's all I've done. So not terribly proud of myself over that. I really do want to push myself to do a little more. And that's not this week's goal, but I'm going to just try to add in some swimming. Although the water's freezing, it's winter, and I'm going to try and force myself to do more steps and more walking up and down steps, stuff like that. So I'll let you know. But the thing I'm most concerned about, where I've really let myself down a little bit, is with my food. By and large, I have eaten properly on most days, but I do have to confess that I've been giving into temptation and binging a bit sometimes. And I know people talk about food addiction. Not sure I want to use super emotive language or paint myself as a victim of anything. It's not really what I'm getting at. But addictions like alcohol and like cigarettes, generally are perceived to be far more dangerous and problematic than just eating too much. But for me, quitting smoking was pretty easy. Quitting alcohol, I wouldn't have said that I ever had a problem with alcohol, that I was alcoholic, but I drank heavily for many years, but more in a sort of social way. Didn't used to really drink too much on my own. But both of those, relatively easy to give up, because it's easy to be absolute. It's easy to do something too much, and it's also not impossible to just quit it completely. You just don't put yourself in situations where people are smoking, people are drinking, you don't have cigarettes in the house, you don't have alcohol in the house, you don't go to the pub, and it's pretty easy to stay away from. Food, on the other hand, you constantly have to be making good decisions. Every meal that you make, you've got a choice about what goes into your mouth. And there's just so much out there that isn't healthy, but that appeals to me, that I do struggle to make consistently good choices, I'd say. I can do it some of the time. I can do it most of the time, but it's hard for me to do it all of the time. And so I've got to refocus on that a lot more this week, the rest of this year, and for the rest of the years that I have. And if I do that, then those years that I have should be many and should feel better. So for sure, I think that exercise and food are way the most important parts of healthy living. But this week I just wanted to talk a little bit about stress, well-being, and how to manage that. Now, I'm very lucky. My life is very comfortable. I have a good job that I really, really enjoy. I work with great people. I have really good friends. There's a lot in my life that I'm grateful for, and that I recognise and acknowledge myself as being grateful for regularly. So I'm very privileged to be in that situation where my life's not a struggle. But health, wellness, well-being, and so on can still be something useful to keep an eye on, even if it's not something you think's especially problematic. So I just wanted to mention a few things that I do and a few things that I intend to be a bit more disciplined about over the coming months. So one of them is visualization. Now, visualization is something I struggled with a little bit at first, didn't really see the point of, but I've had a lot of success, a lot of happiness has come from using recorded visualizations. There's one in particular that I actually got as a free download. It's from the Gabriel method. John Gabriel is a man who lost a great deal of weight, and he sells a program of pretty sensible weight loss. The focus all on being adding good things into your diet and gradually trying to move away from craving the bad stuff. And, you know, it's not extreme. It's all very manageable. And I quite like his approach in general. But he had this little evening visualization that I downloaded from the internet that you play as you go to sleep. And I found it hugely useful. And I know that friends of mine have also found it useful when I've shared it with them. And what it really does is just, it's kind of meditation, but it's all about just very gently suggesting to you how you might live your life tomorrow and what sort of choices you might make. Very non-judgmental, just very hypnotic and suggestive. And I found that really, really good. If I don't have access to it for any reason, before I came across it, I was doing something a little bit similar that I always called intention and reflection. And that was to sort of start the day not by waking up to the alarm and feeling miserable and having to drag myself out of bed, but just to sort of swing my legs over the side of the bed and just spend a minute or two first thing in the morning thinking about what my intentions for the day would be, what sort of day I wanted to have, what sort of choices I wanted to make, imagine myself being healthy and happy, and just putting myself in a positive frame of mind. Then get on with the day, and then do the same thing before I sleep, just sit down on the edge of the bed and just reflect a little bit. What went well? What would I like to improve? And that was a super simple thing that kind of seemed to help me sleep and encourage me at least to stick to my better choices. Got other ways of meditating. I can just sit with my breath and find that, even if I just do the tiniest bit every day, I find it enormously useful, very calming, very helpful for me. I learned to meditate in Thailand from a Buddhist monk who was a British guy, but had been a monk in the monasteries there for many years. So it was fantastic to be able to talk to him in English and get his insight into it. And I haven't been meditating regularly for quite a long time now. And it's hard to really put my finger on why, because it's such a helpful and useful thing. I also bought once a book and a CD called 8-Minute Meditation, which I think billed itself as being the most American way to meditate. And it's just about putting 8 minutes aside each day to meditate. And I really think that just doing something like that consistently, instead of doing it for hours on end, is far more useful. And I would definitely recommend that to anybody that was interested. I mean, I'm really lucky. At school, they've given us free subscriptions to Headspace. So I've got that tool as well. So what I really want to get on and do is get a bit disciplined and organised about using these tools that I have. And then one other thing that I think has been really useful for me, it's kind of meditative, I suppose, kind of about visualisation, I got from Paul McKenna, who I read his book, I Can Make You Thin, and saw some of his TV shows. But one of his incredibly useful recommendations is just to slow down a lot when you eat. So if you're eating with a knife and fork, you cut yourself a mouthful of food, and then you put the knife and fork down on the table. And you chew mindfully, and if it's kind of grossing you out, you don't want to chew 30 times before you swallow, then don't do it. But just slow down and think about what you're eating and really enjoy your food. Don't just kind of get the opportunity to eat and just shovel it all into your face until you feel sick. If you're not using a knife and fork, if you've got a sandwich, he said, just prise it out of your fingers and put it down and just eat slowly and carefully and mindfully and enjoy your food. Don't make this about binge eating. Don't make it about deprivation. Just decide what you're eating and then really enjoy eating it slowly and carefully, and stop when you're full. Fairly simple. Something I don't do. I eat way too fast. And so I'm going to work on that this week as well. The other thing I've been looking at, I've been getting a few random emails about something called tapping. And I don't believe in tapping. I don't need to believe in it. I think part of this journey is just throw a lot of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. But it seems to be about these meridian points. And this sounds like nonsense. If this is all about chi and energy flow, then it is rubbish. But one thing that I've discovered through my kind of relentless rationalism is that when it comes to meditation and visualization and even therapy and things like that, is things don't necessarily have to be true to be effective. There can be a useful way of thinking about something, a useful mantra, a helpful little way of behaving that can actually make a good impact in your life, even if it's not true in the sense of, scientifically testable. When you do yoga, you're not reaching some kind of amazing spiritual plane. You're fundamentally just stretching. But if you're stretching mindfully and celebrating your body and calming your mind and holding poses that are uncomfortable, but holding them with control and looking at your breathing, it can be a fantastic way to start the day. It can really chill you out. These things aren't spiritual or mystical or magical. They can be really, really effective nonetheless. And so that's my goal for this week. Keep on exercising. Maybe try and add a little bit more in. Keep on trying to eat well. But also put these quite easy and quite enjoyable little bits of meditation or visualization, things for my well-being, for stress. And just run through those and see if I can have a really, really good week. So maybe you'd like to do the same. If not, peace.